This is Let's Talk About Magnum PI, the podcast from fans for fans of Magnum PI. Hi, welcome
Hi.
to another episode of Let's Talk About Magnum PI, the podcast from fans for fans of Magnum PI. This is Liz again, and I'm Eve.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. We're talking about episode 5.
Yes.
I gotta admit, episode 5, when I first saw the show, was a snore fest for me.
Really? I kind of liked parts of it, and then parts of it, like you said, was a little bit
Yeah. I definitely like parts of it too, but like you have to get further into it. Like you have to already be kind of deep to really appreciate the beauty of this episode, which I am now, and I assume you are too.
Yep, definitely.
So like this is not an episode for a casual viewer, I think.
No, and I think that because it, if you watched it sort of chronologically from the beginning, this being only the 5th episode does kind of give you that sort of like, oh, what am I watching feeling? And is it really worth watching it? And it's one of those episodes that, again, if you're just a casual viewer, you can probably skip in a way.
Yeah.
Or come back to it when you love the show like we do, and then you'll understand why it actually is not such a bad episode in the end.
Yeah. I mean, just going by the thing, is one of the episodes that doesn't exactly stand out. When you think back, the cat episode is more so one that stands out. But anyway, who doesn't love cats?
It's one of the funniest episodes too, the cat.
Yes.
It made me laugh so hard a lot of the time.
So I have a huge question to begin with. We learned in season 2 that TC was actually in the NFL for a little bit.
Yes, we did.
How did none of his friends question why TC was a coach for football like this? Because we know they didn't know, but like, how did they not question it if he's done that for quite a while now? Where did he get,
But I don't remember them being surprised that he was in that NFL.
Oh, yes, Rick was definitely surprised.
Was he? I mean, I had to rewatch it, so I'm gonna go with you on that one. But I don't remember. I remember them.
Done so last night.
I remember that he was embarrassed because he was picked last. I think he said like he made the team, but like just. I remember TC being a little bit embarrassed, and he's like, "Oh yeah, like you were Mr. Irrelevant," or something like that. Yeah, but I don't remember. I don't remember like if they were.
Rick definitely didn't know that before. TC has quite the penchant of actually keeping stuff from his friends, doesn't he?
Yeah, if you think about all the times that they've learned something about him and they're like, wait a second, how did we not know this? I'm thinking mainly about like the art school and the dancing.
This episode has another one of those.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, when he oh my god. It's on the tip of my tongue.
When they found the tape, oh my goodness, what's it called? Voicemail tape.
The voicemail, yeah.
And he kind of lets it slip that his father was in jail and he lived with his grandparents for 6 years. And none of his friends knew that.
Yeah. And then again, it's like they go back to that like 18 months in a POW camp.
And we're just kind of finding this.
Yeah. But then that begs the question, what do you talk about in a POW camp, right? Guess that kind of stuff wouldn't really come up.
It's 18 months. Probably there's time in 18 months for this to come up. The other question is, why does he keep so much from his friends? Because, I mean, it's very clear in this episode that neither Rick nor Thomas hold it against him. They're just like, okay, we didn't know this about you. Good.
Yeah, now that's their personality, right? They wouldn't hold it against them. They know that like they've all been through traumas in the past, and they just accept, because it's like the past is the past, and we're friends now. So who you are now kind of matters a little bit more, I guess, to them.
his personality and his loyalty and his friendship matters more to them than his past did. I think he could have done some crimes in the past and they'd just be like, yeah, but you're a good person now, so you learned from this. Not that we're saying that TC ever did it, but like, hypothetically, this is what Rick and Thomas are like. Hey,
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah, we would forgive you for anything.
Yeah, there's so much about TC we don't know, and I really want to know.
Yeah, we need a proper. I want a proper flashback episode for like each of them. You
Yes,
know,
please.
like little versions of all of them, please.
Yes, please, please, please. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, lordy.
Keep up the trend from the little Magnum from last season.
And, of course, Higgy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love
We
to see little
need
adorable Higgy.
something from Higgy, besides mentioning that she had the lads since they were puppies, which is
Aw.
cute, but also you missed the episode, you missed the chance to show us cute puppies.
Yes. Maybe we'll get to see. Maybe they'll have like the little lads.
Please, give us little lads, because
Yeah.
these puppies are cute.
They are little Dobermans.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it. Please, writers, I know we have started planning, so please.
Oh, they are way beyond planning. As we've seen, they finished a draft, a network draft. So, way beyond the planning stage. They are ready to start filming soonish.
Yeah, should be in about a month. It's exciting.
Yes! Which brings us to something for the podcast. We plan on doing a rather interesting episode for when they start filming. So, if you want to be on this interesting episode, which is outlook to season 4 and potential what we want to have, what we might see, hit us up, comment on the video, comment on our Instagram, comment to our DMs, and be on the show. And maybe we'll have more than 3, 4, or 5 people on here. Wouldn't that be fun?
It'd be a party, and we can have like a round table discussion. Let's do it.
Let's have a Magnum PI season 4 party on the podcast.
Love it.
Yeah. So, speaking of the lads, velociraptors, really, Thomas? Velociraptors? Of all the things you have to compare them to prehistoric chickens?
That whole scene makes me so happy. I find that scene one of the best in, like, I just find it so funny because she's like, I'm right here. Like, you know, and I think it's because I've been watching the original like recently, so I'm kind of seeing the comparison between like what the original Higgins was like with, you know, Tom Selleck and the lads in the original too, and that's very like indicative of the original. But I also just love when, you know, he's like, you took your sweet time, and she goes, oh, like, you know, you did cleaning up the yacht. And I think my favorite thing is when she's like, personal security consultant, and she's like, hijacked the yacht.
The bra on the mast was something else too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, because when he's like, Europeans don't like to wear clothing or something, I was like, isn't she technically European? Like, I know that there is a little bit of a distinction between like England and the rest of Europe, but
depends on what you look at as European. Geographically, she's European.
Exactly.
Politically, well, this is a whole new clusterfuck that I don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole because I have my own opinions that are, well, politically
and that's
loaded.
Why I said technically.
Yeah.
It depends how you look. But yeah, that was my initial thought. I was like, she's at least, you know, everybody would consider her at least partly European, you know, no matter how you look at it. I would think, at least, you know, not being European myself, but yeah.
Okay, so quick going to my politically loaded opinions. There was a time in this, a few years back, where I just could straight up drive 20 minutes to an airport, board a plane, and fly to London without ever having to pack a passport. That time's over, and I'm kind of like, now I have to dig through everything to find my passport again? Really? That's like my major problem with this. I have to find my passport.
I know the feeling. We used to have that with the US actually. We didn't need a passport and then they changed it actually a while ago now. Like uh yeah. Shoot, like 20 years ago. But like I remember when I was younger, it was like, "Oh, you know, we're gonna go to like cross the border. Okay, bring your driver's license or, you know, your health card or whatever it was." And you didn't need a passport. And then I remember when it changed and it was like, oh my God, we actually have to bring our passport? Like, it's so close. Like, and we used to go across all the time because there's a lake, um, close to Montreal, where half of it is in Canada and half of it is in the United States. So we used to cross, because my family had a boat on the United States side. And so I remember, like, when they changed it and we had to start bringing our passports.
Weird.
It was weird. And so I
Yeah.
understand where you're coming from with that. It's like, whoa, culture shock even.
Yeah, it would be even weirder if they started doing this for France, because I live so close on the border. One of the supermarkets I go to is in France. So like I if I go and get my food, I have to bring a passport now. I hope this doesn't happen, but like it could be.
Yeah, honestly, who knows? Like, it's everything is changing, right? So, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's always changing. That's the one constant in this world.
always
Change.
changing. I know, weird concept, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Back to the episode though.
I was gonna say back to the episode. um, we mentioned it before, but you know, when TC comes into the estate and gives, you know, Thomas the whole speech about, you know, I know that you had a weird vibe and yada yada yada, but I'm asking you to help. He's like, you know, you had me at help. We're friends. And you know, it just goes back to what we always say about Magnum, always willing to do basically anything for his friends. You know?
Yeah, yeah. This episode is one that really stands out in terms of how two things about Thomas. One, how he's a good friend, and two, how he's a really good, no bullshit and non-corrupt private investigator.
Hmm.
Because,
Yeah.
like, on one side, he gets into this whole thing for TC and he doesn't stop investigating for TC, despite him having this weird wipe. And you know, he could be like, TC, really, they have someone. Not that that's Thomas's thing. He would never do that. We know that. But like, yeah, we have someone, and the friendship is tested. Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I think, you know, we one moment that really stands out for me for that is when they find the voicemail tape and he's like,
Yeah.
I have to give it to Katsumoto. And, you know, TC's like, no, like, you really don't have to. And then Magnum's like, you know, and they kind of get into a little, you know, little argument. And TC's like, yeah, if you do it, then you're not the friend I thought you were, and yada, yada, yada. And then again, it goes back to what you were saying about not being corrupt private investigator. Like, he does bring it to Katsumoto in the end, but he kind of only does it when he's kind of sure, or he's pretty sure that he will prove that Hani Iona is innocent. You know, like he's found another way, or he's getting close, kind of thing.
There's other aspects to this as well. Where is it? In the beginning, we see how really defensive TC is of Makoa, the kid. Um, and it becomes really clear soon to not only the audience but also to Magnum that TC is projecting his own situation on the kid because his own father was in a similar situation to Thomas's knowledge back then. Later on, we learn that his father has actually been in jail for 6 years. He actually did what he was accused of doing, and it becomes even clearer that he sees projecting on the kid, but like he wants to protect the kid from what happened to him, how he was made feel by his own father, how what that did to him. So Thomas at this point is very aware of how biased TC is, and I think Tom, are you frozen?
No.
So sorry. I think Thomas thinks, and I would 100% agree with him there. The best for the kid is to know without a doubt what happens. what happened. So he doesn't have to be like, but what if dad was innocent? What if dad really did it? Blah, blah, blah. What if I'm living with a murderer?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So I think Thomas in that moment is an advocate for the kid and for justice. And I honestly, I feel he's doing for TC what TC doesn't know needs to be done for him.
And that goes back to Magnum always having everyone's best interest, at heart, right? And, whether it's his client, which I guess in this case is like a little bit TC, a little bit the father, a little bit the kid, so he has to do right by
and also
all
the victim.
Three of them. Yeah. So
and I think in that moment he's also trying to protect TC from this uncertainty. What if I had a murderer free to live with Makoa? Because these thoughts will eventually come for TC as well.
Of course, yeah. And he wants to make sure the kid is okay, right? Because we know that he, like, besides being the coach and an advocate and everything for Makoa, like, he just genuinely, wants the kid to be okay and, to make sure the kid is safe, because that's, TC, and he just, like, cares a lot about this kid.
Yeah. That's one thing that stands out with all the male characters in 5-0 and Magnum PI. These guys, they have such a soft spot for the kids.
They really do.
All of
them. And
actually,
that actually makes me think of something in relation to Higgy, when Makoa comes to stay at the estate, and she is just like, what am I supposed to do with this kid? Yada, yada, yada. Like, it kind of contradicts itself again in the third season, because in the third season when they find the baby, she was like, I was a nanny to like a 14-year-old or something like that. I think it was like a 13 or 14-year-old. Yeah.
14 or 8 to 14. Like, that was exactly the age span that Makoa had.
Exactly.
Plot hole.
Exactly. And I of course, like, when I was rewatching it, like, because when we first watched it, we didn't know about that, about Higgy, right? So we didn't think anything about it, but now going back, it's like, oh, wait a second. Plot hole, because she had absolutely no idea what to do with Makoa, or at least she claimed not to know what to do with Makoa.
Do you like Duck?
Yeah. His face.
Who feeds a kid who just had his father taken to prison? Duck. Like, thank you, Kumo, for suggesting making grilled cheese.
I was like, she's like, I think we have some duck. I was like, oh no, Higgy, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh man.
But I really love her interactions with Mac in the entire episode.
The chess game is one of my favorite. I think the chess game is my absolute favorite moment of the entire episode, because it's just like, it shows her, like, the more caring side of Higgy, which we haven't really seen all that much of at this point. It also kind of sums up what she truly thinks about Magnum, even though she's, referring to him as the white, right? She's like, he might be erratic, he might be this, but he, he'll get the job done, and, he's very good at what he does, and don't underestimate him. And I guess, like, that's a subtle way, or I guess not so subtle way in this case, of showing what her true feelings towards Magnum are at this point.
To quote her, the players often underestimate him because he's unassuming. His moves seem erratic, unpredictable. Quite often it will surprise you. You could almost argue it's the most important piece in chess, next to the queen, of course, but the knight won't let you down. Guess who's the queen?
Well, yeah.
Even though I'm pretty sure she doesn't know that yet.
I don't know. I mean, the way she said it, she was like, next to the queen, of course. So it's like, does she know it? It's like right on the edge of maybe she does, maybe she doesn't.
Yeah. I actually love some other part of that even more. Well, I do love her quote, but I love the fact that she started playing chess with Makoa, and it ended with them repurposing the chessboard, so Makoa ends up talking about something that he loves. She actually actively puts this kid at ease by turning something she likes into something that he really loves. Yeah. And, well, it makes her appreciate football more.
Yeah. Yes, and we saw at the end of the episode that she was
yes.
She goes, it's not I think she says it's not rugby. Is that the episode where she says
Yeah,
that
yeah,
she's
it's the
rugby?
more
Yeah,
uncultured
the
version of
version
rugby,
of rugby. Yeah,
or more
an
overregulated.
an over-regulated, under something bastardization of rugby. I think she
Yeah,
says.
yeah,
Yeah, which I find funny because I don't know about in the States, but in Canada we have rugby. Like we have, soccer, which you guys would call football. We have American football, and we actually do have rugby, where there's no padding, it's quite rough, and it's I mean, I wouldn't say it's as big as American football or soccer, but it's still pretty big here. But I don't know in the States. So the fact that she had to separate the two kind of made me like, maybe it's
yeah.
not.
It's a British thing, just like it's German thing to very and British thing, as we've seen with her, to very very vehemently distinguish between soccer and football. Because like, yeah, I'm not getting into that again. But also something at the end, Hani, the dad, and Juliet are joining the boys for a game, which they didn't in the beginning. And oh, I loved Juliet's joy, and I loved someone's look at her when she was this
Yeah.
joyous.
Is
I
this the first time that we got truly like a look, as we've been calling them? I think
I
it might
think it
be.
is. I
I think it's
think
the
it
first
is
time.
the
Yeah.
first time this kind of look happens.
And it coincides with her, you know, in the chess game
No, it
kind of
isn't.
explain. No, I'm saying like it's in the same episode that she kind of has the like her
Yeah,
true feelings about Magnum come out, and then all of a sudden it's like he's looking at her.
yeah, but it's not actually the first time we had that kind of look. I think the first time was in episode 2.
Mm. Oh, and also maybe actually in episode 1, when he comes out at the very end of the episode and she's waiting by the black Ferrari, and he
Yeah,
kind of gives her a look, and she
yeah,
nods at him. So maybe it's been since the very first episode.
yeah. What do you guys think? Comment on this, cause like,
Yeah, let's know.
get into talking to us. I gotta say something. The boxing gym looks really familiar. I think it was in 5-0 before.
Um, maybe. I'm not super familiar with all of the locations on 5-0 because I wasn't really like when I was watching through 5-0 the first time, I wasn't paying super attention to the locations, like not as much as I do now. Um, but yeah, highly possible that it's
Yeah.
used again. I mean, they have used quite a few of the same things, like besides besides the actual soundstage being at Hawaiian Studios, which they're now using for NCIS. All three of the shows have been on that same set. Like they actually do use quite a few different locations uh, over again, like repeats.
And this episode actually shows us that they also repeat actors. Um, Now I haven't noted her name down, but our doctor's wife is a very familiar
Brooke.
face. Yeah, Brooke is a very familiar face from 5-0, actually. She was in season 7. She was Dr. Madison Gray,
Mhm.
our chess-related criminal who quite literally stabbed McGarrett in the back.
Yes. Yes, it's funny that you mentioned that because I actually just watched that episode too. That whole storyline. But yeah, it's true. And she had a pretty big arc
Yes, she did.
in 5-0. Yeah, and it's true. I the two are together with the chess. I didn't even put two and two together. Because she was very obsessed with chess in 5-0, and she used that as part of her attack strategy, and then she's also involved in another episode involving chess on a different show. And
Yeah.
also she was the doctor in one, and now she plays the doctor's wife. And she was
Yeah.
evil in both as well.
I wouldn't class Brooke as evil. Brooke's just spoiled.
Well, didn't she? Yeah.
Yeah, she killed him, but at the end, when Thomas very interestingly gets the um, confession out of her, which is a situation that is so damn impressive to me, by the way.
Yeah.
For me, it became clear that she reacted in a heat of the moment situation. She felt like he betrayed her, and, well, the gun was there. It was his gun at that point, supplied by Hani, so not
Yeah.
so good. Um, yeah, as for what I think is really impressive in Thomas' situation is Thomas' quick thinking shows off in that moment because when he's there, he realizes that the odds are still stacked against Hani, even if he has definitive proof that the wife shot him. Hani is. I am so sorry that I have to bring this up. I hate that this is the truth of the reality right now, but Hani is a big Pacific Islander. He has a motive. He supplied the gun. He tossed the gun. His shoes were drenched in the blood. He would have been seen as conspirator or accessory to murder.
Yeah.
So he needed the full confession out of Brooke. Otherwise, Hani would have still probably gone to jail
Yeah.
just for the fact that he was there and acted, admittedly, stupidly.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like you said, it just shows that Magnum sees it from all angles and is able to anticipate what is needed in order to get the proper resolution.
Yeah. Can we go to the fight scenes in this episode,
Yes.
please? Okay, first I want to mention something. Thomas tells TC when he offers him up as a sparring partner to just bob and weave. Bob and weave is a killer on your back. That
Yeah.
one's hard. That one's hard, and if you can't do it, you look like a dancer. Because I bob and weave, bob and weave, bob and weave, side down, side down, side. It's a killer. And TC doesn't do it at all.
It's true. He goes right into it. He's like, he's getting, he's getting pounded.
Yeah, he's becoming a punching bag, which makes me
Yeah.
think like, why?
Yeah. And then I also kind of think, in two instances where um you would think that the opposite person would like Magnum said, he has, 4-inch reach on him and 20 pounds or whatever he says. You'd think that even if TC didn't have the experience, he would just be a little bit better than he did, considering just based on his size that he might have a little bit of not an advantage, but that he wouldn't get
He
tumbled
definitely
as
has
much
an
as he did.
advantage. He's a highly trained military officer. He knows his shit,
Exactly. And
and he
that's what I
doesn't
was going to
use
say
his shit.
too about when Magnum was fighting Wade Steuben. You like Wade Steuben is clearly like gonna kick his ass, but then he doesn't really, right? And again, and then that was my thinking too. Like it must be the military training, like, like in all fairness, Wade Steuben probably should have won that fight, but Thomas is, I guess, is faster, right? Because he's smaller and more agile. So I guess he did do a lot of like, as we said before, bob and weave, which what he told TC to do and TC didn't.
I think TC was sandbagging hard. Because at the end, it took him one punch to knock the
Yeah.
other guy out. He was sandbagging to, you know,
Give time for information.
time for Thomas. Kudos to him.
Yeah.
But also, can we talk about the fact that Wade Steuben literally threw Magnum out of the window?
Yeah.
And
And
the
he's just like
payback.
he gets up and he's kind of like, I'm good, even though he's not good, like.
Isn't it even worse? He throws him out of the window. Next thing we see is Thomas drives a car through the garage into Wade Steuben. Like, a tiny bit of an overreaction, don't you think, Magnum?
Well, don't you think that something would have been a little bit broken, maybe, if
I
you got
mean,
thrown out of a window?
yeah, definitely. A little bit more than his face. So,
Yeah.
speaking of a little bit more than his face, the wounds are inconsistent throughout the episode. Not in terms of where they are. They're spot on with the locations of the wounds, but the intensity of the wounds changed. They're a little bit more dull,
Yeah.
healed in a scene that's closer to when he gets pushed out of the window than later on, which is kind of
Yeah, it's like makeup needed a little bit more work that day.
Yeah, they tried hard. Maybe it's just, the lighting.
Mhm.
Because it's
Or
it's a,
maybe the sequence at which they shot it, right? That could explain it too.
yeah, it's let me tell you, handling fake blood is a nightmare. It's an honest to God nightmare. I'm a cosplayer, so I handle a lot of fake blood, and there's one instance where I did the art, did the costume and makeup for my friends, and oh Lord, that had consequences for me. I must have sounded completely nuts because I knelt at my friend's knees, looked up at her, and I was like, "I'm gonna cut your throat." I was turning her into a zombie in my defense. I was referring to, doing that as zombie makeup for her. And on the other part, we had my friends at white clothes, and we were applying like zombie kind of things with fake blood, which ended up with me having my hands drenched in fake blood. And nobody, not a single person, was thinking about the consequences of having your hands drenched in fake blood. Needless to say, I had to go to work 2 days later, and I was still covered in fake blood that just
All
wouldn't come
red.
off.
Oh
And everybody's like, "What did you do?" Like, I cut
no.
beets, the beet salad, lots of beet salad.
That's what I did.
Beets do that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's why I'm all red.
definitely didn't tell anybody. I was making 3, 4, 5 zombies this weekend, and I forgot that fake blood doesn't stains the skin if you don't apply good foundation. Which I didn't. It also another funny story about that is how do you get your clothes appropriately dirty for zombie makeup? Well, you mount a lot of dirt and leaves and just jump face first into a pile of dirt and leaves. Yes.
So much work. So much work. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And let me tell you, as a cosplayer, you're like only doing a little bit of the work that the costume and makeup departments are doing. So, like, kudos to them. What was a nightmare for me is a full-time job for them. And, whew,
Give them props. Give them
guys, you
props for
are
sure.
amazing. Even the consistency of the wounds that Thomas had, whew, amazing work.
Yeah, yeah. We give them to the makeup and wardrobe department for sure.
Yeah, and at the end, when they're at the game at the end, there's still a shadow of these wounds, but they're this time appropriately toned down because they're healing, which is nice. Because we actually see passage of time in that, through that.
Yeah, and we don't know exactly how much time has passed from when Makoa, like when everything gets resolved to when they go watch Makoa's game.
Yeah, but we know through the wounds that was at least a few days.
Yeah. That there's been some time. Undetermined.
Speaking of time, it's interesting how the chopper overtakes a plane.
Yeah. Yeah, that often happens, and you're like, jet engines versus like a chopper propeller. Yeah.
Interesting, yeah. I think there's a good explanation though. She has to board a commercial plane. She has to get tickets first. She has to board and go through. Do you have to go through security check in Hawaii?
Yeah,
Inter-island traveling?
you would have to go through security, but you wouldn't have to go through customs. But yeah,
Okay.
anytime you board an airplane, you have to go to through security, like metal detectors, and they check your boarding pass, and they do X-raying your bags and like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. um so yeah, that takes
So that
time.
makes sense. Yeah.
So yeah, that gives them the advantage to.
But also, weren't they already in Kauai when they phoned her?
Yes,
So you're talking about when they went back?
Yeah, so definitely when they went back,
Yeah.
they went to Kauai, which was still Oahu.
Yeah.
Because you don't go to Kauai to film there for half a second.
No, definitely not.
So
Even
yeah,
when they do like Maui ones, they tend to use Oahu still.
not necessarily. Not necessarily, depending on how big the episode is. I think there was one episode that was clear in 5-0 that was clearly really shot in Maui, and or two. So yeah, it depends on how big the storyline is. If it's just, that one scene.
Yeah, they're not gonna bother.
If it's like 2 scenes, 3 scenes, maybe not bothering because you won't see the background much. But if it's like a distinctive scene, like the scene with the fake Mars guy.
Fake Mars guy? What are you talking about?
5-0 episode.
Where they went to the place where it used to be like a quarantine spot?
No, where they had Max's rival.
Trying to remember.
It's there. The area where the murder happened is definitely very noticeable, and that couldn't have been shot on Oahu. That's what I wanted to get to.
I'll take your word for it.
I'll look the episode up for you, and if one of you guys wants to know the episode after,
yeah, I'm curious.
Hit us up. I'll tell you too.
I've seen them all, but I can't remember because there's been so many episodes. I don't remember like all the details.
Yeah, that's because I'm a weirdo. I remember weird details sometimes.
Me too, but I don't remember that particular one. So
everybody has their own brand of weird details. I can nerd out about sharks for some reason.
It's almost Shark Week on
Discovery.
It? Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's like in 2 weeks or something.
I love Shark Week.
It's coming. It's coming.
I want to swim with sharks again.
So much fun.
Mm-hmm. And crocodiles, though crocodiles was a little bit more irresponsible on my part. In my defense, I was 12.
I'm looking up when Shark Week is.
Yes, please do. And guys, watch Shark Week. Shark Week's amazing.
It is. It's a lot of fun. Shark Week. Yeah, it's from July 11th to July 18th. So
ooh, awesome.
Yeah,
I love Shark Week.
Shark Week is awesome. It always falls like when I'm on vacation. But obviously not this year because boo, can't go anywhere. But yeah, so there you go. That's when Shark Week is.
Can we talk about something else? I'm making a weird random connection right now. From sharks, which are Omakuas, to Native Hawaiians. Do you think Makoa's dad is classed as Pacific Islander?
I would say
not classed. Oh my goodness!
Like,
do you think that should be on his file?
Do I think he should be on his file? No, because I don't think he should be labeled. But do I think he's Pacific Islander? Yeah. But do I think he should be labeled? No.
Here's the thing. He was labeled.
Mm-hmm.
When Thomas tosses the tape onto Katsumoto's desk, he tosses it onto Hani Iona's file. And I did a sneaky little pause and saw that Hani Iona was classed labeled as white. Which kind of, yes, why not? But also, would reality do that? I'm genuinely confused.
Yeah,
not confused, but curious about would that be a thing that would happen?
Yeah, I'm not sure. If anybody knows,
yes, help educate us on this part, because
Because,
With
yeah, I don't
all
know
that's
either.
happening, especially regarding the American police system, this is like something that I genuinely want to know
Hmm.
because there's
Yeah.
so much controversy about that.
Yeah.
With right.
Yeah. Yeah. But, yeah, I'm not sure what would actually be done in real life.
Hmm. Okay, back from that really, really sensitive and interesting topic. We
Yeah.
saw our girl Noelani, and I
Yeah.
noticed something really cute about her. Did you
Are you
too?
talking?
I'm
Yeah, the
talking
pin.
about the pins. Yes,
Yeah.
the pins.
I
They
love
have.
that she has the pins.
Yeah, she had a shaka.
Yeah.
She had a watermelon, a skull, and my personal favorite, a mermaid.
Yes. Yes. And I think I just love it because like to me that's like so typical Noelani. Like that's just her
Yes.
personality. And I love Noelani. And like I actually in the notes that I was taking, I was like I literally wrote love that Noelani is in it.
Yeah, yes. Oh, you should have heard. You guys should have heard me when I saw the first episode of Magnum PI way back, and Noelani was on. I was just yes, Noelani,
Yeah.
because she's like by far one of my favorite characters of 5 and another one of my favorite characters, by the way, is the Mermaid Cop, aka Tawny Ray. So like
Yes.
that mermaid pin has had me go, yay! That's why they're friends. They're both mermaids.
It's so cute. I love it. And I love that she's just like, what do you want, Magnum? Like, because
Yeah.
they've had so many run-ins, like you could just tell that she's so used to his antics. And he's like, chips?
Stale chips.
Yeah, and she's like, those are for the vending machine. Come on, man, do better.
Yeah. He brought malasadas for the first bribe, so like
Yeah.
up your
And
game
that's
again, Magnum.
didn't she say the bribes have seriously taken a nosedive or something?
Yes.
I mean, she's not wrong.
She's really not wrong. But then on the other hand, wasn't it a Leonard's box? Isn't there like a huge line at Leonard's
For the
often? So like
malasadas. Yeah.
he was on the time frame, so I get that he didn't just drop by Leonard's again.
For the malasadas.
Because that takes dedication.
Yes. Mm.
Ah, so sweet.
No, Alani, our
There
girl.
were some seriously sweet moments in this episode. For example, Thomas and seriously bad bribes, if I think about it now. Thomas's apology to TC was really sweet until he
Hmm.
brought the chopper in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
But I
also,
guess
it
that's
was
the
still
problem is
sweet. He
he's like his
apologized.
apologies always start off sweet and then he's like, but I need something.
Yeah, at the same time, I don't think he needed to apologize in that moment because he didn't do anything wrong per se. We both know that TC overreacted. We all know TC overreacted for completely understandable reasons.
Yeah.
But also, like, he didn't need to apologize, but think he really wanted to because he
Yeah.
really values his friends. And yeah, and he also just needed the chopper. And it did serve TC's purpose in the end.
Yeah, and it's again part of Magnum's personality that he doesn't want to, like rub anybody the wrong way or leave anybody like not liking him,
Unless
you
they're the
know,
bad guy.
unless they're the bad guys, yeah. So he always feels like he needs to make it right, and whatever he needs to do to try and do that, he will.
Another sweet thing is when Juliet goes to look at first when Juliet defends Makoa to Child Protective Services. Like, you
Yeah.
guys don't have a warrant. Don't get in here. That kid needs to be safe, and he's safe here. Bye bye. And when she knows where to look for the kid,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it
then
proves that they had a bond, like that they
yeah,
bonded in that little brief period of time.
Yeah, and she uses the white knight metaphor again and upholds the spirits of the kid through that. And she tells the kid that basically this Ohana already adopted him and was ready to be there for him, which then later she proves by turning up for his game and cheering for him.
Yeah, yeah. And again, that could also be like a little bit of projection from her too, because I guess, well, I guess she really hasn't been accepted by the Ohana yet, but she's more accepted than when the show first started, and she's
Yeah.
starting to be part of the Ohana.
I feel like my personal opinion is I think the Ohana has accepted her more than she is ready to accept herself yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like
I think that's true.
I'm pretty sure they're full on team. She belongs to us now, but also she has to find out that she belongs to us by herself. We can just be like, hey, we're your friends, and eventually you'll find out that you're a sister.
Yeah. And they know it. They know that it's going to take a little bit of time for her to accept everything, and they accept that she's not quite ready. As
Yeah,
we see like in other episodes.
They let her figure it out on her own terms, which is these boys are just so sweet.
Yeah, they are. They're such a great group.
Even though one of them admittedly has shady contacts.
Yeah.
Rick, looking at you, Rick. But
we love him for it, though.
Yeah, the other guy, the other sweet moment is definitely TC. He just has a heart of gold. He posted the bail for Hani again.
Yes.
This guy has a heart of gold. No wonder Robin Masters, the most generous character on this show, loves him.
And gave him a chopper and everything.
Yeah, he's like a mini Robin Masters. He's very generous with his money, with his time, and with his love.
He is. And it shows. Like, it shows in all of his interactions.
I think it very much shows, especially with his interactions to Higgy coming back with the acceptance, because once she's ready to be in this Ohana, he's very vocal about it. He's like, come here, Higgy baby, you're actively pulling her in.
Yeah.
When she, probably doesn't feel like reaching out. And he is also the first one who tells her that he loves her, or they love her. In episode 1 of season 3, like, he's vocal about his platonic love for her, which
he's like love you, like when they're leaving.
Oh, I love that moment.
It's so sweet.
It's so
sweet. That whole Higgy in the hospital moment is hilarious. The cello.
And sweet.
Hilarious and
it was a treat. It was a treat on so many levels.
It was. And it just set in motion so many things, too.
I have said that I have a massive soft spot for JLE, too, so that scene, awesome. Thank you.
Season 3.
Yeah, season 3, season 4 coming up. Let's see if he's still there.
Yeah, only time will tell.
Yeah.
We'll see if he, if there's any word of him going to Hawaii, or if he sees filming.
Okay, here's the thing. We had never had any word of him going to Hawaii, but there's times when we could find out that he was in Hawaii, even though we didn't officially know it.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to how liberal he is with interacting with people. Because it's telling when he's talking to you in the middle of the night, like it's morning for him.
And you're like,
someone definitely not where he belongs to. And guess what? In that case, I was right.
Time will tell.
Yeah, time will tell. Can you tell I'm excited for season 4?
Can you tell that I'm like losing my mind already just from that thing that the writers tweeted? I'm like,
yeah, I love that. I really love that. It's beginning to give content. It's beginning to give content. Much English, very wow.
Yes, Master Yoda.
Yes. So, speaking of season 4, to warn you guys, probably again, the moment season 4 starts filming, the the form of this podcast will change a little bit.
Yes.
At the very end of an episode, we will have a little section that you are welcome to turn off if you don't want any spoilers. But if you do want the spoilers, stay in the podcast, because we're listing what happened on Hawaii, what happened in filming, what we know, what we learned in that week. But we'll give you ample warning. We'll give you a spoiler warning. And if you really don't want it, it's at the end. You're free to turn off and you won't miss anything beside the spoilers.
Yeah, because, it's always exciting when filming starts, and it's kind of fun to know spoilers if you're somebody who likes them, so.
Yeah. That being said, I personally don't class The Blessing as a spoiler and the starting of the filming, so you guys will learn about that anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't really classify, anything that's publicly tweeted by any of, like, the main cast, or, like, for example, when JLE tweeted that he was going to be playing Perdita's boyfriend, I don't really classify that as a spoiler, because that's like publicly tweeted by the actors,
Yeah, but then there's moments in public tweets that will be filtered, because sometimes there's a sneaky little thing in the background that they haven't observed themselves that gives you an idea of what happens in an episode or who's in an episode, and we will not mention that. If that's the case, we will only mention, oh, there was a cute little picture of Jay Hernandez and Perdita Weeks, or, also not classified as anything outside of filming. So if they're hanging out at one of their places, and we'll mention that, that's not going to be in the spoiler section either.
No. Because that's just them hanging out as friends. It's not really,
Yes.
It's not a spoiler. And we know that they do hang out as friends, so not spoilers at all.
Yeah, so we're excited for season 4. I hope you guys are excited too. Again, if you want to come talk to us about season 4, you know where to find us. It's Magnum PI Podcast on Twitter and Instagram and on YouTube. And you can message us, you can comment, and we'll get together and come join a hopefully massive pre-season 4 party. Let's pre-game season 4.
Yes, with all the crazy theories. No theory is too crazy. We all have our theories that are possibly
but maybe not maybe sci-fi theories are a little bit too crazy.
Okay, yeah, but still, most theories are should we say most theories are welcome? No, all theories are welcome, but yeah.
Even the sci-fi ones are welcome, just like we all know how likely they are.
Yeah,
because we're still in a cozy mystery.
Yeah, but we do love theorizing, and
yes, come hack canon with us.
Yes, because I'm always willing to chat about theories, and like I know a bunch of people have like DM'd me on Instagram and stuff and goes, "What happens if this happens?" And I'm like, "Yes, it's totally possible." And I'm like more than willing to discuss,
Yes. I mean, I wish we were around the time when they filmed the finale of season 3, because that was a time for interesting theories, wasn't it?
Yeah, my DMs were like I mean, myself included, I had some like pretty crazy theories. I was like,
oh yeah.
I was like, wait a second. I'm like, okay, so if she leaves, maybe she gets in the car, but then halfway to the car, something happens, and then she turns around, she doesn't leave, but then, maybe she does leave, and then the last thing we see is her at the airport getting on the plane with Ethan. And then I was like, I reworked my theories about 100 different times based on like a handful of pictures.
But none of that is disproven yet.
Yeah, I'm okay. When we go to our season 4 theories, I don't know if I've said it on the podcast before. I maybe have. That one of my, admittedly more out there theories, is that she never actually gets on the plane, and that we're gonna pick up exactly where we left off. But admittedly, that's one of my less likely theories that is in my head.
Is it less likely? We don't know if it's less likely. We've no information yet, so you guys join us. Get your theories on air with us.
Yeah.
So I think that was it for this week. Or do you have anything else to say about this wonderful episode? Yay!
I think that pretty much wraps up the 105 rewatch. What do you think?
Yeah, I do so too. If you guys want to be on the rewatch for episode 6, you can also message us. Talk to us about this episode or any other episode. I know Sia, for example, who was on with us for episode 4, she messaged us way before we were at that point. So message us and we'll jot you down to be in the show, and we'll contact you for when we can do this.
Yes. It's a lot of fun. Let's do it.
Yeah, and I can tell you another thing. We've got some exciting things lined up, so
stay tuned.
Yes, stay tuned, and thank you for listening. Bye, guys.
Bye.